welcome everyone to Meet the Mentor. Today we have Alex Garant and I'm Maya Corona. I'm a member of Mastrius and a navigator. And join us for the upcoming group that we have. It's on Thursday, every fourth of Thursday, what?
Every fourth Thursday.
Thank you. Yes. And so of the month, every fourth Thursday. And we're starting on the 25th of this month. I'm going to introduce Alex. And so I'm going to read a little bit about her. And then we'll just jump and ask a lot of questions or whatever questions you might have. Alex is a Canadian contemporary figurative artist, and she earned her reputation as the Queen of Double Eyes. Having studied visual arts at the Notre Dame de Foy College near Quebec City, she made Toronto her home after graduating in 2001. After experiencing a heart attack in 2012, Alex's perspective on the world shifted entirely, and she decided to fully commit herself to art. Alex's oil paintings blend graphic elements with traditional portraiture techniques. She pioneers analog glitch art, employing patterns, duplication, symmetry, and image superposition to craft her mesmerizing visuals. Her works delve into human duality, exploring the conflict between inner identity and outward persona. With representation in galleries across Canada, United States, Australia, Alex art has been in museums as the Museum of Art and History in California, the Mesa Contemporary Arts Museum in Arizona, the Honolulu Museum of Art in Hawaii, among others. She's been in publications such as High Fructose, Juxtapose, Beautiful Bizarre, as well as featured in American Art Collector magazine and various online platforms, including Vice and the Huffington Post. She has collaborated with Marvel, Sideshows Collective, Kappa, Universal Music, Billy Talent, and the Penguin Random House, demonstrating Alex's diverse influence and widespread appeal in the art world. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for jumping in here with us. And I bet everybody has lots of questions about how you started with art. And I mean, I heard a little bit about you and some podcasts I've listened, but one that got my attention was when your mom got into a room and you were like 2 years old.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was so when I was a kid, I guess my mom walked into a room and I had this blanket over my head and I was holding like pencils in my hand and I was just like meditating, holding a bunch of pencils, which is probably trying to catch signal from the creative gods doing that. But yeah, my mom was always a big source of inspiration for me because she's an artist as well. So the house always had a lot of art supplies and pencils and wax pastels around. So I think I grew up in that kind of setting that was always, about being inspired, about being creative, about drawing and painting, and I guess communicating through art. So it's really kind of been part of my upbringing. And then I started taking more technical lessons when I was really young as well. Like my mom put me in classes at the community center when I was a kid. So I took my first oil painting class when I was 7. So I started fairly young. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
Enjoying the video? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when new Mastrius videos are added.
So with the being always surrounded by art, like you knew, and I feel that most of us kind of like know that we want to pursue it, because I feel that all humans are creative in a way or another way. Like we have certain ways to show how creative we are. Maybe it's a little bit more analytical, or like in this case in art. But how when do you really decide this is something I really want to do? Like,
It actually took quite a while because so I went to art school. So I went to high school, then I went to art school. Even when I was in high school, I was fairly good on an academic level. And then I told my mother and my father, I don't know if I want to pursue art. I might want to go in medicine and stuff like that. And it's kind of funny. I got the reverse effect than most people. My parents were like, no, you should go to art school, because I've been into art most of my life. So I ended up going to art school. And after that, I kind of got lost a little bit, meaning I had so many different type of jobs. And as much as I love to draw, I was a nanny for a while. I was a makeup artist for a while. I worked as a clown for birthday parties, kids' birthday parties. I was a clown. Then I was a flight attendant. Then I entered the marketing world, and I was working in franchise sales, then marketing, and then advertising. And at the end of my corporate career, I was an advertising executive for a big Canadian company. So it was like a lot of, different career path that I was kind of trying. And I guess I kind of forgot how much I love art until, like you mentioned before, when I turned 30, I actually got a heart attack. And I suffered from a heart attack. And that just, I don't want to be a cliche, but it did make me rethink everything, like what my priorities are, what my life regrets are. And when I was in the hospital, I started writing a letter for myself, like what needs to change. Like if I start feeling better, if I get out of here, what needs to be different? And my biggest regret, once again, sounding a bit like a cliche, is never what I've done, even the mistakes, or you could call mistakes I've done in the past. My only regrets were what I didn't do in life. And I knew right away I should have done more art. Like I'm 30 now, I have this big corporate career, and I just kind of let go of my true passions. That was really my wake-up call to just dedicate myself to my art again and make the active decision of art is a priority, my art career is a priority. It's not a hobby anymore. Let's make it a thing. Like let's bring money in. Let's make it a full-time gig. Let's make sure that I run it like a business. Like this is no joke no more. We're serious now. So it took something that's very unfortunate to make me realize that I needed to embrace art. And that's the great thing about coaching now, is that I hope that I get people to get that feeling of that sense of urgency about making art their priority without having to, suffer or, live something horrible like I did.
awesome. Yeah, and that's, I think, something super important. I feel really like they related with what you're sharing. I haven't had like a big thing physically that happened to me, but it was a change in my life, where I was like in marketing and all that, and went from there to deciding that I wanted to do art. And it's like for me, it was a little bit of, oh, this is a business, and I've never run a business by myself. So how for you, how did I go from working for somebody else, now working for Alex, and like being your own boss, and like treating art? Because some people is like, well, but art is just like a hobby. It's like, well, not really.
Right. No, because you like you say, you become a business owner. You become your own boss, and that's what I think a lot of people need to realize as well, is that it's not all about just painting and living the bohemian, art style. There's a lot of work behind the scene that's happening. Like you have to do your own accounting. If you're running a shop, you need to be shipping stuff. So you need your mailing, you're at the post office, you're looking for discount, you're buying supplies. It really becomes a business. And I was very lucky that I believe I had a lot of transferable skills from my marketing and advertising business. There's a lot of stuff that I learned in a big company setting that I was able to transfer to my small business, like how to run advertising, social media, even the basis of the sales funnel and how you get leads to get a sale. And some of those concepts are usually used in corporate marketing that can be used for my small business. So I feel like I had a bit of an advantage where I had great business principles already in my toolbox. But it was a transition going from, like you said, having a boss and working from someone, and suddenly you wake up one morning and you're like, oh, I can wake up at whatever time I want to wake up to. Oh, I don't need to take lunch at noon. Oh, wait, the day's not over at 5 p.m. So there's some great elements where you don't have that typical structure when it comes to your daily schedule, but there's also an adjustment, or sometimes, you do work 14 hours in a day, which is more than you would in a traditional corporate structure. So there's pros and there's cons, but at the end of the day, when your passion becomes your full-time job, I feel like it's a bit easier to get up in the morning to go to work.
Yes, I agree. And so are you, I know you have kids now, and like how do you manage the life balance in between being an artist and having a family?
Um, I think even before I had a bigger family, it's all about, finding balance within your lifestyle and also adjusting your priority. Like before I had kids or my husband, when I was single, or even while I had my full-time job, or what I would call my day job, I would consider the art job to be a second job. So I would come back from my corporate job, and then instead of, watching TV at night, I would say, like, I need to put 2 hours into painting. I need to put 2 hours in the studio. I don't go out in the weekend anymore because I decide that I'm going to work on my art. So now on Saturday, I'm working. So I had to really carve the time in my existing schedule for art. Now that I have more family obligations, that schedule is a bit more, it fluctuates more. So I have to kind of adapt more to obviously the needs of the family. But once again, it's about carving that time and making sure that when there is a window of opportunity, that you take it. It's really easy to just sit on the couch, I'm like, oh, I got a break, and start scrolling. Well, maybe we have time to do a social media post to promote our business, or we have time to send a quick newsletter. And I know it's not easy. And because I have a young child at home, and it's not always easy to find those time, but you have to find those minutes and make sure that you prioritize your business, especially if it's how you make your income. So it's more about finding time opportunities. If you don't have a very structured, how could I say, a schedule during the day.
Yeah.
But if you do have some kind of structure, if you do have the day job, it's about allocating the time that you have, the free time. Like maybe you watch one less TV show and then you spend a bit more time on your art business. Maybe, you don't go out on Saturday night. So on Sunday morning, you're upbeat and you can get a bit of painting done. So it's all about just kind of carving those opportunities within your schedule, whatever it is, whatever it might be.
True. Yeah, totally. And coming back a little bit to your art, how did you started with doing the type of art that you're doing? Was that always, because I know you do you did some other stuff, but then now it's this. So how did that happen?
So this was a bit of a catalyst from the heart attack and change I made in my life as well, kind of combined with that marketing background. So coming from that marketing background, I knew that brand identity was everything. So being able to have a visual voice that could be associated with your name. So Alex Garant, double eyes, like if you hear my name, you know what the image is. If you see the image, you think about my name. So I really wanted to build this association between the visual and the name. Coming from that marketing background, I knew that the style that we use as an artist, what we call our style, was really key to kind of build that bridge. So when I had my incident, I decided I'm going to make a series of 12. I need to make 12 paintings that are cohesive in a collection. So there was a few exercises that I did to start, which is how to identify what are your, I call it like those default habits that you have as a painter. It could be, I use a lot of blue, or I always end up putting a bird in the corner, or it could be something that you think is a bad thing, like, oh, I know when I do landscape I always use too much yellow. Well, I learned to kind of embrace those habits and those things that were always coming back in my art, and by embracing what just come naturally to me, I was able to kind of build on top of that. So there's a whole kind of aspect of being really self-aware as an artist, and then using that self-awareness to fuel that visual brand. And from there, you kind of have like the starting point of being able to promote yourself for a specific visual aesthetic.
Right.
I hope that made sense.
Yeah. It's and I hear and I feel that I'm in that moment where it's like, okay, I need to find exactly which is my style, and I change all the time, and I'm painting portraiture and like animals, and then I want to do abstract. It's like, okay, focus, Maya, focus, because I have a creative ADHD, and then it's just I'm always like,
There's
but
also, there's a point to be made into thinking about your art a bit of your business. There's stuff that I like to do that are not always on brand. For example, I love sculpting, and I like to do sculptures of little creatures like little elves and little trolls just for fun. And I like to do cartoons as well on the side, just doodle cartoons and stuff like that. It's just not part of my current art business. So I allow myself to be, I guess, to express myself using different media and using different material. However,
right.
not everything needs to go into my art business, like what is, I'm losing my,
Oh.
here we go. So what is my my visual voice is what I put my marketing effort into. It doesn't mean that I can't do other things, but I just want to make sure that my brand is solid.
Consistent. And yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And I was gonna ask the people that are here, Todd, Olive, Barbara, and France. If you have any question, you can unmute and show your beautiful face, or just type it on the chat, and we can answer any question you might have. And yeah, talking about the marketing, and so do you ever get help, or everything you do is by like it is you for doing the marketing and all that stuff?
Sadly, it is me. When I moved recently, and I'm living in a kind of small town in the middle of nowhere, and so it's all me right now. When I was in Toronto, I did have a studio coordinator that would come in my studio once a week for a day and do a bunch of stuff like orders and helping me package stuff. And so that was great. but right now I'm by myself, but I do outsource what I can outsource, meaning I don't go to the post office anymore. Like I get my stuff picked up at my studio. If I can just outsource that drive from the studio to, the
Oh
post
yeah.
office, outsourcing it. I get my art photographed. So when you sell to a gallery, you send stuff to a gallery, you need to have, photograph of your work. So I don't photograph or scan myself now. I found someone local that can do that for me. So I just drop off my stuff. They do the editing of the image. They do all of that. They send it to me on a beautiful memory stick. It's all good to go. So I do most of it myself, but if some aspect of the business can be outsourced, I'm all for that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. It's always good to have, and then it opens up other time to do something else, right? Like
Absolutely.
maybe
Yeah.
it's with the family or something like that.
Also,
Uh,
anything you hate in your business, you should outsource it. Like if you hate varnishing your painting at the end, pay someone to varnish it for you. If you hate packaging or running your store orders, get an art student to come to your studio once a week to do it. They say once you run a business, if you hate something, you should outsource it.
yeah, I agree. I'll get there. I'll get there at some point. Um, so with because you do original artwork and you do a little bit of printing and some merch. Like,
Mhm.
how do you got to that point to like, okay, I'm gonna start selling some prints and some of these it, like how do you come to a decision on doing that?
Um, I think once again, it's all about being sustainable as a business. Selling original, it's great because it's a high price point. But there's a lot of passive income that can be made for an artist via merch. It can be print on demand solutions or even like limited prints or merch. So I just think it's a great additional way to bring revenues into your business. So it's great for you. It brings extra revenue, but I think it's always great for your collectors because not everybody can afford an original, but they want to support you as an artist, or they want something for their home or for their house. So it makes your art more approachable and more affordable. So I think it's a really good place to be as even as a company, to have different price point when it comes to your offerings. Designers do the same, like there's brands that have their runway avant-garde stuff that they sell for $50,000, and then they have stuff off the rack and or on the rack, or they have a special collection at a giant retailer. So there's different price point, and that way you can reach out a larger base of collectors. So to me, I want to take advantage of that. I think it's good for my business, but it's also something I want to do for all of the art lovers that are out there. Like I want people to be able to afford the art that they love. Like, we should not just be buying generic, random stuff. Like we should buy art and decorate our walls with stuff that we love. So I think it's a good opportunity for everybody to win in the whole art scene and art community.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. And I saw in one of your I don't know, I think it was a print and you were embellishing the
Mhm.
print. So you do that often, like every print, or it's just some of them?
No, some of them. And that, once again, I think that's an opportunity to bring extra revenues and also bring more value to a print. Um, you can reach that mid-level customer that want to afford a print but could almost afford an original. So they want a print that's a bit more special. I think that's great for you as a business because you can have a bit of a higher price point when a hand embellished one. So once again, you win-win. They're a bit more collectible, which I think kind of increase your value on the print market. They will be more collectible. A lot of people also appreciate the fact that the artist touched the print, like put some time into the print. So this also it's a form of communication with your collectors. Where like, I touched this, I made this for you. I took the time to make it prettier for you. So I think it kind of increased that communication aspect between the collector and the artist. So I think it's a nice touch. I don't do it all the time because obviously time consuming, and you don't want to oversaturate either your market. So it's always about finding balance. But like I try to do a hand embellished one once or twice a year because I think it's a good place to be business wise.
Yeah, yeah. And because I had to ask about Marvel and how you got uh, to
Yes.
like to work with these bigger brands, and yeah, like how do you get to talk to them, or they talk to you because you are like
Right.
out there?
Well, I've been very fortunate. So the collaboration with Marvel was someone who was an existing collector of mine. So
Mhm.
someone who's an art collector, who's an art lover, and he works for Marvel. And I guess there was an opportunity for Marvel to do collaboration with some artists. And because he was already a collector of mine, he reached out and said, "Hey, would you be interested to do something with us for the launch of the new Doctor Strange movie?" So obviously I said yes, because this is a great opportunity. Um, so there's kind of a mix of sometimes, brand will reach out to you and offer you stuff. And these collaborations are not always a good fit. You have all those Instagram influencer program, like post about our jewelry or post about skinny tea or shampoo. You have to decide what's a good fit for you. It's okay to be selective and it's okay to say no. I feel like sometimes when artists start, they want to say yes to everything. Do not say yes to everything. Make sure that it matches your personal values. Make sure it matches, your brand. So it for me, like I got approached quite a few times by cannabis companies because obviously of my work. However, I have been sober for over 20 years and I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't even drink coffee. So it's in a good fit for me on a personal level. So I always say no to those and I explain to the company like, no judgment, you do you, good for
Yeah.
you, it's just not for me. So yeah, and there's ways to also create those brand collaboration. Like if there's a brand that you really like, you can also tag them in your work. I recently joined the Trekel Pro Team, which is a brand of brushes, and I reach out to them like when they had an open call for new members for their pro team. So I reached out to them and I said, hey, like I would like to be part of the pro team, and then I had an interview and then I got the gig. Yay. So it's a balance between sometimes brands reach out to you, and then sometimes, you have to just kind of show a brand that you're interested in collaborating with them.
Right. Yeah. And have you always been like, because for me, sometimes I have, I don't know if it's because English is my second language, but at the beginning I was very shy, not shy, maybe scared of like speaking and asking for some of that, like reaching out to a brand and say, hey, I would love to collaborate with you. How to do that in a easier way that doesn't feel like, oh, I'm gonna, yeah,
Right.
too
I,
scary.
I know what you're saying. I have a few different answers for that. The first one was, once again, I was kind of fortunate in a way that after I experienced my heart attack, I was suddenly fearless, which is before I was so afraid to, oh, am I good enough to apply to this gallery? Am I good enough to reach out to this curator? And after I had my heart attack, I was just like, I'm running out of time. I don't know if I'm going to die tomorrow. So I don't care. The worst thing that they could do is say no. Right. So suddenly I was fearless. And I feel like the more you put yourself out there, the more you're going to get. But I mean, you can maybe receive like 100 no's before you get one yes, but you only care about the one yes.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and then there's ways to obviously, the other advice, which seems a bit odd, but sometimes I say it to my mentees at Mastrius, is sometimes you just need to fake it until you make it, They don't need to know you're not confident. They don't need to know you're insecure. You can just fake that you're confident. Like, let's just pretend we are, send an email, get yourself in that mood. Let's just do it and see what happens, right? And what do they say? The harder you work, the more luck you get. It's so true, though. The more you put yourself out there, the more feedback responses you're going to get, like positive and negative, but you take it all and you just focus on the positive.
Yeah, exactly. And so we are having this talk because we are opening a new group, and I wanted to, like, maybe if you can share a little bit of how your mentoring ship in a group will go. Is it like maybe demos you focus on, or is it like how do you do those?
Structure. Yeah. So far, so I was really, really lucky. I had 3 groups with Mastrius before, some of them for, 2 years. So I had my mentees with me for a very, very long time, which is really amazing because you can see the progress and the journey and everything. Um, because of the knowledge that I have when it comes to marketing and advertising, most of my Mastrius groups are very marketing centric. So there's a lot of people that want to know, how do you make it to the next level? How do I market my art? Like, what are the tips? So I usually take them a bit on a marketing journey that starts with, let's identify what our style, what our brand is, to, okay, how do we prepare ourselves to, apply to galleries or apply for grants or whatever it is you want to do? How do we make sure that our presentation looks professional? Is it, are we doing a brand kit? Are we making sure that, all our font on our website is cohesive? Like, it can be little details like this and makes us look very prepared and professional. How do we build content online? How we do, earn content, paid content? How do we do native content, evergreen content? So all those kind of tips and how we can apply those principles with our art business. And we start from the very, very beginning. And there's quite a few exercises are more about, like I mentioned before, that self-awareness as an artist. And we kind of built on that. And my goal is always to know what your dream is as an artist. And I always say, don't tell me my dream is to be a full-time artist. Like, no, I want to know your dream, like specific. Do you want to be in a museum? Do you want to be painting in murals in Greece? Is your ultimate goal to, maybe it's, yeah, to make it full time? How much do you need? Like, do you need to make $100,000 a year? So do you need to make $40,000 a year? Let's get specific into those life goals, those dreams, the fantasies. And my job as your mentor is to try to be with you in that journey and give you tips how to get there. So my mentorship classes are kind of structured from the beginning of that journey to, at the end, like how to mess with the SEO in our website, or how to do practice email to galleries, and how can we perfect our appearance as professionals. So there's obviously room to adapt all of those classes depending on the need of the groups. And
Right.
you and I talked about it before. Each group is so different. The energy of the group is different. People have different needs. People are at different levels in their career. I work with artists that were just in their early 20s, just starting up. And I also have students that are like, in their 60s, they've been doing it forever, but they now want to understand, the social media or what's happening right now. So
Right.
the needs of the group kind of decide what my sessions are about. But the idea is to take everyone on that marketing journey that kind of help them reach their life goals as an artist. And hopefully I can help them get there. And that's my goal,
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and that was one of the reasons I decided to jump and say, hey, me, I want to navigate this group, because I think it is a really big and important part of if you want to become an artist that wants to sell your work. There's so many little nuances that have to happen in order to be successful.
Mhm.
So yeah. And another question I was gonna ask is, like, where does the inspiration
Mhm.
comes? Because it is, I guess, for everybody a little bit different, and sometimes people feel like, I don't know, I'm just not inspired today, or like I have no ideas So how does that come to you?
I have this analogy that I used a lot, which is inspiration is like a wave, and it comes in wave, it comes in cycle. And I always say, you know, when you're at the beach and you look at the ocean and you see that big wave coming, that's your inspiration, that's your creativity. It's there, and you have to, you know, get on the wave. You got to surf it out. You got to just embrace it because it's coming. And so that's when you create your painting. That's when you do sketches. That's when you work in a sketchbook. And eventually it kind of dries out. The wave goes away, and then it kind of go back into the ocean, and there's a lot of sand, and then you feel very, very dry on a creative level. And it's always scary because you don't always see the next wave. When you look at the ocean, when you look at the horizon, you don't always see the next wave coming. So you're like, oh my goodness, like I'm blank, I got nothing. I found that the key in that moment is just to wait and be patient for yourself, and just allow yourself to just kind of recharge. The water is going away, but it's just prepping for the next wave. So I learned to just not freak out, not stress out about the lack of inspiration. It's just, you just need to recharge. You rest. When that happens, you work on your business, you work on your social media, you work on your accounting, you work on your website, you do all those little administrative tasks until the next, you know, wave of creativity comes, and then you embrace it again. So I find for me, even if I watch a million super artsy movies or go to, I mean, going to museum is always good. So I can't sit down to that because I love galleries and
Yeah.
museum. But you can go to a million art galleries and museum. It doesn't mean that it's going to come back faster. It might help triggering obviously a bit of a spark because you feel like you want to be creating. But at the end of the day, I think it's just about being patient and understanding that there's a natural cycle for creative beings, and you just have to kind of wait for that cycle to kind of regenerate itself. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I can feel like when you were explaining that, like there's some times where you just like I don't know what to do. Like where
Yeah.
what
You, it's a good time to like you prep canvases, you just go sanding, you wash. I always have a million dirty brushes in my studio. I'm one of those, like I can have like 50 brushes, dirty brushes in the pot. So this is the day where I'm going to spend an hour just washing brushes. So you just have to do something else that's still related to your business, but that
right.
is necessarily like creative. What do you do? What do you do when you have that creative blank?
Yeah, it is a lot of that uh computer like simple things that are they don't need that inspiration, because when it comes, like I can be painting, recording, editing video, posting, and it's like all these ideas that come. It's like I want to share them all at the same time with everybody in the world. And but when there's nothing there, yeah, I will just go into the website, edit here and there. It's like I don't need this. Let's move. Yeah, edit. Yeah, that's true.
It's a good time to edit.
Yes, edit all that stuff. And so, have you ever been a night owl, or you prefer to work in the mornings? How does that work?
Asleep all the time. I'm neither. I want to go to bed early and wake up late. So I used to go to bed back in the day in my natural cycle. I would probably go to bed around 11 to midnight and waking up at 8. That would be my natural cycle. However, my life has changed in the past few years, and I'm the one who decide when I wake up. So I just wake up when other people in the house are awake.
Yeah.
Um, so that's just yeah, and I just go to sleep as soon as I can because I just crash because I don't have any more energy. So yeah, life change, and we just need to kind of adapt and go with the flow and embrace it all.
Yeah. And so, a session for you to paint, how long usually takes you? Like, is it like maybe
Mhm.
4 hour sessions, or how does that work?
Yeah, once again, things change. I used to love doing long sessions, like 8 hours, just kind of go, go, go. I feel now that my body is not as forgiving and I feel like, I get pain in my shoulders, I get cramp in my wrist. So I feel like a good 3 or 4 hours is really good. If I'm really like focused in the zone, um, I feel like if I can put in like a 3 or 4 hours in a row, it's really healthy for me. And the way that I work as well, because I do work wet on wet, but I work per section. I don't do the whole figure. That works out as well because I know kind of what space I can cover in that 3 or 4 hours.
Okay.
Um, so if I can do 3 or 4 hours, I think that's amazing. If I have crazy deadlines, I'll go for longer. I mean, if I have crazy deadlines, I'll paint, 10, 11 hours in a row. If it needs to be done, it will get done at the
Right.
end.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. It and I was gonna ask the people that are here, if you guys have any questions, let us know, or just come up and ask the question. Um, and what else? I was gonna ask you about, you did some um buttons and little stickers, cards. Do you they have how do you decide which merch? Is it something that
Uh,
you feel?
I it's not that, I mean, it's not complicated. I just create the merch that I would like to own
Okay.
myself. At the end of the day, it's just like I have those little buttons. I just think they're fun and I like to collect them myself. It does happen sometimes that, you have to be open to feedback from people. So sometimes people will say, hey, you should be doing a tote bag, or I wish you had an extra t-shirt or stuff like that. And then I will create that for them and I will see there's a demand for
Right.
it. If you look at your sales, like you can launch a product and you see like, oh, I sold a lot of it, it's popular. So I think it's just being aware of your market and what your market wants. And there's ways to obviously find out. So you can look at your stats from the previous sales. But if I try something new, it's usually something that I want to sell myself. But it's
Yeah.
something as well that I think that we talk about in the mentorship group, which is, what fits for you. Do you want to do high-end print once a year, or do you want to sell a bunch of sticker sheets? Like there's a different needs for everyone. So, but
Right.
I mean, I like it. Like I'm a collector of little things, so I usually launch stuff that I would like to collect myself. That's kind of how I decide.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was going through and like, oh, I want some buttons and I want the collector cards. Those are so much fun. Yeah. And so with the painting and having like, because you've done some museum and like, I'm just thinking about how big, how small you go. How do you decide how big or how small you go when doing a collection, for example?
Right. A lot of it is dictated by the gallery or the space or the venue itself. Um, if it's a solo show, usually you'll have an idea, the gallery, what they expect when it comes to the amount of pieces, and sometimes even the wall space that they have. So if they have a really big space, you might say like, well, I'll fit a really big piece in there as kind of like a statement. And then you want to do different sizes for different price point once again. um, so I think for me, I'm at a point in my career where my obligations are what dictate the sizes that I'm using. um, I used to do a lot of 16 by 20, and
Hmm.
I feel like that my style has evolved a little bit more, and I can do bigger pieces. Like I like to do a 30 by 40. So I did go a little bit bigger than I used to back in the day. But I feel like it also depends. Like sometimes you will have, there's a lot of shows that are small work shows and stuff like that. So if you do a group show, like sometimes there's a limit or a size guideline that the gallery.
Right.
Um, but I feel like, let's say that the galleries, I know nothing to say, and I was deciding by myself what size I would use. I would do a lot of 30 by 40, but I want to do more. I want to even go bigger. They say the longer you're an artist, the bigger you want to go. And they say it should match your ego. So like your ego get bigger, and then you just end up painting bigger and bigger and bigger. But
Right.
an artist, going bigger allows you to explore more, especially when you're into the detail works. Going bigger allows me to fit 2 characters in there and then still kind of packed a lot of details. So there's opportunity creatively that you don't get when you work really, really small. And it's such a myth as well that working bigger takes more time. Sometimes it's faster because you can just be more expressive with your brush work. So when you work small, it's so hard. It's so hard.
I know, I don't like it. I like bigger. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. And I, I was gonna ask, wait, because you were talking, I'm like, I need to ask this other question, and it's I don't, where is it?
It's okay. We have time to get, we'll catch up. Everybody's
Ah,
going to join our coaching group, and then they can ask a million questions all the
that's
time.
true. That's true. We'll get to chat 2 hours every month.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, that's great. Maybe we should talk about that, like how it works with the group. But yeah, like if people are interested to meet with me and my once a month with me, twice a month with you,
Yes.
every fourth Thursday. We still have a few spots open in the group. So you
Yes.
should join us. And
Yeah, we're starting in 15 days.
yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. It's gonna be really
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, me too. I'm super excited. And it's always like the when we meet with you and the whole group, I feel that um we get sometimes somebody else has a question that I never thought about, and
This is
that just like helps me to learn new things that I'm like, I never thought about that. Like that's such a good question. And
yeah.
that's why I would keep like asking. And then we have the mid-month sessions, which is like just us, the participants with me, and talking a little bit about what's going on in the class, sharing some tips and tricks of like whatever we're working on, and then bring that into when we meet with you. So it is really fun. I've met new artist friends that are like all over the world, people from Australia and Latin America. Like it's just amazing. Uh, that's what I love about Masters, that it doesn't matter from where you can reach and access amazing people. And yeah.
I agree. I'm the same way. I feel like I met so many great artists, even like through my groups, even if I'm the mentor. And even the one that gone on and like doing their own thing now, like I still follow them on social media. And I'm just so glad to have been part of their journey at some point. I think, yeah, I think it's a very fun experiment in a way, to kind of
Yeah.
being an artist is such it can be a very isolating job. Like you're in the studio, you're really in the zone, you're not talking to anyone most of the time. So I think it's such a great way to kind of add that social element to your practice, right?
Yeah, have somebody to like bounce those ideas that you're like, okay, who do I ask my other painting? Hey, how's it going? What do you think about this? Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
absolutely.
It's awesome. And I remember the question I was gonna ask, and that was about the like, do you use models and do you photograph?
Oh,
Yeah, because like I paint from reference, and so I take some of the pictures, and but like the way you take them, like it's just my imagination. I don't know if you take the pictures and then overlap them and make the, how do you do that?
Yeah, well, so when I lived in Toronto, what I used to do is pay models to come to the studio, and I built myself a huge database of images on my computer. So I would pay a model for, like, let's say an hour, and I would take like 300 photos in 1 hour, and it would really just poses and different lights. So I would say, okay, you're standing up, you're sitting on a chair, and I would literally just make them rotate, like looking like this, and I'll take a picture, then a picture, then a picture, and just make them turn around slowly, and then just snap pictures. Your hands here, your hand there, just different lights. And I would build an entire database of images that I keep on my computer. And I did that with a few models. And then from that, I can build when I need references. Sometimes, the face doesn't look like that model anymore because I work on that, or even the hair doesn't matter. So it's more about the form and the light,
Right.
about having all those poses and those references. And I used to be very, very analog with my process, meaning I would take transparency papers and do my sketch and then resketch it and then use transparency papers to kind of have that double effect. And then I also worked with projectors before to see if that was easier. I did some tracing. So there's different method to kind of get to that end result, or the perfect sketch, I should say.
Mhm.
And sometimes I switch it up. Sometimes like I have a phase where I use a projector for a while, and then lately I'm like, no, I'm just gonna sketch it old school and then scan it and then blow it up on my computer, then print it on a larger scales. And then I got this new tracing paper that you can print on the tracing paper. So then I print my sketch on a bigger scale, because my sketch will be like on 8x10 or whatever.
Okay.
Sketchbook is then, and then I found this printable tracing paper. So I print my sketch on the tracing paper directly, and I can trace, which is like, it's been a really great.
That is amazing.
Yes. Yeah. It's,
I want, I need that paper.
I think it's called X-Trace. So you can take, you can take your sketch and your whatever, your sketchbook, and then you scan it, or even you take a picture with your phone these days. Like, and I put it on my computer, and then I just make it the size. If it's a 30x40, I make it 30x40, and then I just use a bunch of that I think it's called X-Trace paper, and then I just kind of tape it together, and it's a whole.
Yeah,
whole
I do that, but I have to put the carbon paper on the back.
Yeah, so this carbon paper, the rolls of carbon papers are really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, like printing directly on the tracing paper is a game changer. It is more pricey, but you save so much time, and it's not messy. Like, it's way less messy. Yeah, for sure.
True. Oh, I'm gonna look for that then.
Look at yeah. Different ways to do it. And I mean, we can also do the grid method. If you're a purist, you can do the grid method. I just find, like, as an artist, when you have crazy deadlines, doing the grid method or tracing will basically end up with the same exact result, except one will take 2 hours and one will take 20 hours. So yeah, I'm a strong believer in, let's do what works best with zero judgment. I'm not a purist when it comes to how to sketch on canvas.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's really important, that part of, like, do whatever works for you. And yeah, because we are all different. We're interested in different things. And yeah, like you said, if you have time that you need to do a lot of things in that little time, you find the best way to do it.
Absolutely. And it's part of everybody's, like, journey, right? As an artist, it's whatever works for your work, whatever works for your voice, whatever gives you the end result that you love, that's what you should be doing.
Yeah, totally. We have 5 more minutes. If you have any questions, let us know.
If not, no problem. We will be reachable via Mastrius, or I don't know, do you want to say, like, your social media, if someone wants to reach you on social media?
We have mine is Maya Corona Art on Instagram, And Alex, it's Alex Garant Art.
Yeah, Alex Garant Art. It's pretty much my handle for everything, so it's kind of easy
Yeah.
to find all of them. But yeah, if you have question about the group, you can also reach out to Mastrius directly. But if you can also DM me, or I'm sure you can DM Maya as well.
Yeah,
I know.
very flexible. Yeah. Well, it's been awesome, and I think people will really enjoy it. Like, I mean, your groups go for like a year and a half, almost 2 years. So I'm pretty sure everybody gets so much from you. It sounds like when people stay in a group, it's because there's a lot to get. Somebody
Oh,
wrote,
it's in French. Fais-tu
yeah.
toujours tes modèles avant de faire? Fais-tu toujours tes modèles avant de faire ta peinture? You mean like if I'm always kind of sketching? It says, do you always do your models before you do your painting? But I think they're asking, do I always like sketch before I paint? Yes. For me, the sketch is such an important part of my process. It's really like the blueprint of the process. So I like a very, very accurate sketch, and you can see it on my social media. Like I post them quite often. So I think that's a really important part of my process, though I do kind of let loose when it comes to colors. Like I feel like if I don't always decide my colors in advance, so I can decide to do like blue or pink or whatever. So the colors I kind of give myself a bit more freedom with. Yeah.
Awesome. And the sketches that you do, is it something smaller, or you go a little bit bigger? Like how?
My sketches are usually, I have a bunch of, I'm a hoarder of sketchbooks and sketch pads. Most of them that I have are like 9 by 11. But yeah, I'm quite a hoarder of sketchbooks. I have like probably like 20 in the studio right now. But yeah, 9 by 11 or something like that. But sometimes it just starts with almost like a stick figures. Like, I first idea is just kind of like, oh, it's going to be this, and it's going to be a couple bows here and there. And it starts really much like a tiny little, it's a doodles. It's not even a sketch. It's just kind of like, this is going to be the composition. And that's what I start with. And then once I have that idea, then I'm going to go and try to find references that kind of fit what my idea is and kind of build from there.
Right, right. Well, I have a bunch of sketches, sketchbooks too. It's just crazy. And I love buying new ones too. Anyways, thank you so much for joining us. We're like a minute away, and I guess somebody is starting a new call. So thank you so much, Alex, for giving us some time and answering all these questions. And I will see you in 15 days.
2 weeks. Amazing. All
Yes.
right. Thank you everyone for watching, and people that'll be watching the recording after. I guess there will be a recording of this somewhere. But yeah,
Yes.
amazing. And I will see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you, Maya.
You're
Bye.
welcome. Bye-bye.